What's poppin' YouTube? It's your boy Young Devin Dude back at it again with another classic video game review. And I figured, why not move along in the Budokai series and cover the sequel, the red-headed stepchild of the Budokai series, Budokai 2. Released in North America for the PS2 on December 5th, 2003, and a full year later for GameCube on December 15, 2004. I've never heard this game get much love, in comparison to the first and the third, but why? What's wrong with this game? Now, I remember getting this game in early 2006. I had gotten the GameCube Christmas 2005, and for several months, the only two games I had was the pack-in Pokemon Gale of Darkness game and Ultimate Spider-Man. Now, if you've been watching this channel for any length of time, you know Spider-Man is my all-time favorite superhero, so that game got finished pretty quickly, and I've never been a fan of Pokemon, so I was left with no games for my GameCube for a good minute. I was in the second grade at the time, and every Friday at the end of the day, my teacher would give us this half-paper slip, which was a progress report for the week. We got a grade for each day, so if you had low grades for the week, you had to take the slip to your parents to sign. If you had good grades for the week, the teacher would write you a specialized note saying how good you were, and you could pick a little toy or candy from the treasure box. Now, I never got in trouble or misbehaved, but at this point I also wasn't an exceptional student, so I never bothered telling my dad about these slips, until one day I got a really good review from the teacher, and I was so proud I showed it to him. He was so impressed, he took a detour from our normal ride home, and we went to Game Crazy. Now, you remember those? Me neither. I remember at the time thinking I had to make a worthwhile choice because it was very rare that my dad took me to buy a game. I had to get his money's worth. But when I walked in and saw Budokai 2 on GameCube, I was geeked. This was before I was on the internet regularly, so the only way I knew about a game was if it had a commercial that I saw, or I saw it in passing at some store. I was legit shocked that there was a sequel to the game that had made me a fan of Dragon Ball, and at this point I was a full-fledged fan. After making the easy choice, I played this game a ton and would be really confused to find out that there was another sequel that was even better than this and was released the same year. Well, let's get into this game. While not as charming as the original, Budokai 2's menus are still fun to look at, and I love this soundtrack even more than the first. Some of my favorite tracks are playing throughout this video. Like its predecessor, this game has 5 different modes: a story mode called Dragon World, your basic dueling mode, World Tournament, your skills mode, which includes a section to buy skills and equip them to characters, and then there's also Bobby's Spaceship, which is an arcade gauntlet mode which unlocks various modern related things in the game. Unlike the first Budokai game, which had a TV show episodic presentation in its story mode, Budokai 2 throws that completely out the window with a what-if story set on the board game table. Okay, it's not set in a board game, but the way you move and progress the game is like a board game. I usually only hear negative things about this, but I enjoyed it. It guarantees that you won't have the exact same experience every time you play through it. You take turns moving around the board as Goku and whatever other Z fighters you choose to complete the level's objective, which almost always involves taking out whatever villains are present. On the board, you can find skills, unlock characters, and areas. In discussing the Budokai series over the years, I found that Budokai 2 is the most disliked, and it's generally because of this mode. And I get it, but I really enjoyed this as a kid, and it held up revisiting it as an adult. Now, my ideal Dragon Ball game would be an action-adventure game traveling the world as various Z fighters leveling up, and they've attempted that a few times at this point. We've got 11 games covering the Dragon Ball lore. They're pretty much the exact same way. Why not try something new? And if you don't like this what-if scenario, try these games. Now, when I say what-if in the context of this game, I don't mean totally like fan fiction. This is basically the Cliff Notes version of the Dragon Ball Z story. The story is condensed and arcs are combined to explain why certain characters, mainly villains, are fighting together or in the same area. If you're looking to play an exact retelling of Dragon Ball Z, this is not that. Instead, we've gotten a quirky Dragon Ball fever dream, including board game pieces. Like, what more could you ask for? Okay, a lot. While combat is definitely improved from the first one, there's still a lot more to be desired. Combos look better, but still feel a bit simplistic, and the AI is stupid OP. I remember as a kid playing the last stage of Budokai 2 and getting my ass whooped mercilessly by Kid Buu at least 20 times. I had to keep spamming Warp Kamehameha to win. While I am complaining, this is one of the few times I've played a final boss battle and thought this is too much, which in my opinion is kind of how it should be. You should feel accomplished after beating the final boss. To me, the graphics were the worst thing about this game and definitely a step down from Budokai 1. The character models look like unfinished versions of what we would see in Budokai 3, and the fighting areas are so boring due to the lack of detail. With this game coming out exactly a year after the first, I always wondered if this was a time constraints thing, but with Budokai 3 being released 1 year after the PS2 version of Budokai 2, I don't see that happening. In my review of Budokai 1, my main complaint was that the gameplay was too simplistic. With that being improved along with other aspects of the game, this game is a step in the right direction of being better than the original, but sadly it's not. To me, this game feels experimental and incomplete. Despite all these complaints, one thing I have to hand the developers is they listened to the criticism they received on this game and made it classic in Budokai 3. There were things in this game that worked, and instead of throwing them out in favor of new mechanics, they kept them and improved on them. I would rate this a 7 out of 10 just based off my personal enjoyment, but looking at this strictly as a fighting game, I would give it a 5 out of 10 because it doesn't feel complete. Anyway, that's all for this video. Let me know what your thoughts are on this game. Would you have wanted this in the HD collection? Be sure to let me know in your comments, like the video, follow my socials. I'm gone. Peace.